Good morning. We're shooting from the car today. I'm going up to the mountains, but I wanted to get this video posted for you. It's Dr. J from the She Protects YouTube channel. And in this video, we're going to talk about a recent video that I posted about a stalker, a woman who went through a horrific stalking experience. And whenever something bad happens like that, I'm compelled to say, let's learn from it. So let's analyze the situation. And you say to yourself, okay, what happened? How did the person deal with it? And what could they have done differently, perhaps, to get a more favorable outcome? And so that's what we're going to do in this video to set the scene. We have a woman named Susan, and she has met a man on an online dating site and is meeting him to go for their first date. And he ends up being a stalker. So they go on their first date. It's going well. She feels like she's encouraged initially, but as the evening is going, she's starting to, her spidey sense is coming up, and she's starting to feel like, I don't know about this guy. And ultimately, she wants to end the evening, and she does. And she lets him know, she doesn't want to pursue anything going forward. And so she says goodbye. She goes on her way. She's driving home. As she's driving home, she feels like she may be followed. So she's taking some extra turns, going around the block, things of that nature. And she confirms that it is him because she recognizes his car and that he is following her. So she does some additional evasive driving moves, feels that she's able to get him off her tail, that she loses him, and she goes home. And the next day goes about her business as usual. She's going to the gym, she's going shopping, and she's really not picking up on anything at that time. But in reality, she is being followed. And the following day, she goes on a hike. She's out in the woods. She's alone. And she's starting, again, that spidey sense is starting to come up. But she doesn't see anybody. And this happens for a couple of days where she feels like she's being watched. She feels like somebody's there, but she is not seeing anybody. And she certainly doesn't see Mark. So then she goes home one day, and as she's driving up into her driveway, she sees a gift package on her doorstep. It ends up being a gift from Mark, and she is, she goes from concern factor of kind of 1 to zing, like 5. What the heck is this? How did this guy find out where I live? And she goes about her, oops, sorry about that. I don't have my normal holding device, so I'm holding the phone with my hand and trying to minimize the motion. But anyhow, so she goes through her normal routine, and a couple days go by, and she comes out of work, and there is a note on her car and a single red rose, and it's from Mark. So she's really starting to get anxious. The anxiety level is building. And when she does go home, she's now looking out the window and seeing what's going on, and she sees his car pass by her home a couple of times. So at night, she looks, she was taking a walk, and she started to go out for a walk, and she notices his car down the street. So she cancels the walk, goes back inside, and, night happens, nothing happens. She goes to work the next day. And again, the following night, his car is down the street. And she is just hoping, look, guy, get a clue, go away. I just don't want to deal with you. And she had blocked his phone number from his phone the initial night that they had the date. So she actually doesn't know. Has he been, sending her a string of texts? Has he been trying to call? She doesn't know. She's only gotten the rose, the card on her car, and of course the gift package on her doorstep. But she's not aware of anything else because she's blocked his contact. That night, things get interesting. She goes to bed, and somebody breaks into the house, and she knows this because she has a camera system inside her home, and she hears noise. So she quickly calls 911, tells them, look, somebody's broken into the house. Please send officers. I'm getting under my bed. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to remain silent. So please don't talk because, I don't know what's going to happen. So she hops underneath the bed, and she hears him coming up the stairs, this person. She doesn't know who it is because in her camera, it's some guy in a ski mask. So she is terrified. She's under the bed. She's freaking out, and she hears her door open. He comes into the room, starts going through her drawers, and she is praying that he does not hear her or look under the bed. And she's also praying that nothing happens like a ding on her phone or somebody on 911 makes a noise or whatever. She's got everything, white knuckle grip at this point in time. And he goes through her drawers, and then he comes over and sits on the phone and sits on the bed. And when he sits on the bed, he actually says something. He calls her, a 4-letter word. And thankfully, he then leaves. So he leaves, and the officers come shortly thereafter. So she comes out from underneath the bed. She's giving them statements. They are taking her camera footage. They're taking her phone recording because she was recording it on the line with 911 the entire time. And although he was wearing a ski mask and although he was wearing gloves and they weren't able to get any type of DNA or visual on him that could identify him, they were able to use the voice recording. They did take him to court. He was prosecuted, and he was going to go to jail. But she ends up having to move and get out of town. And she did that because they did find a knife on him. And we're not talking a little pocket knife. We're talking, do damage knife. And she's like, I'm not waiting around for him to get out of jail and then go through this experience again. So that's the story. And so let's go through the positives, the negatives, maybe what she could have done a little bit differently to have gotten a better result out of this situation. Because ultimately, she ended up having to uproot her life and get out of town. So let's start with the positives of what she did. So one positive is she has a camera system in her home. So that's a good thing. What could she have done a little bit better with that? She could have had an exterior camera system. Because if she had the exterior camera system, she would have captured his car going back and forth, right? She also would have captured him coming up to her doorstep, dropping off the package. So good that she had a camera system in the home, but it would have been good to have also an exterior camera system. What else is also good about the scenario? Well, she lived to tell about it, so that's like the number one thing, is that there wasn't any physical harm. Another good thing was she was doing evasive driving maneuvers. She was trying to lose him. She was listening to her instincts, and her instincts were serving her well. This guy was a nutcase. You know, he was a bad apple, and she listened to that, and she took evasive maneuvers. So all of those things were really good things. Now, I would take note that, you know, what could have been another thing that could have been done differently, besides making sure she had an exterior camera system to her house, she could have also put a camera on her car so that she could document if he again approached her car, so that you're getting him on film and you're building your evidence against this whack job, essentially. Another thing she could have done is just in general been much more proactive. So her approach was very passive. It's, I'm hoping he's just going to go away. And in a stalking situation, I have learned in general that generally doesn't work. They're just ramping up, and you can see that his actions are ramping up. He's getting more and more and more motivated, you might say, and ultimately breaks into her home. And what we would have liked to have avoided is him ever taking the break in the home maneuver by her maybe being more assertive. So she could have called her phone company and actually found out, I blocked this guy's number. Is there a way to know if he is shooting me a string text of emails and they're being bounced away from me? Document, document, document. So catch him on video approaching her car, catch him on video approaching her house and driving by her house. And then there's, you know, communicating with him, right? She could have left a note on her car or left him a text documenting, look, I have no interest in you, go away, you know, that kind of thing, so that at least she's tried the making her maybe less attractive, because right now he just views her as a deer in the headlight. He's in predator mode, and we want to get him out of predator mode because he just views her as a prey. So instead of being viewed as a prey item, change that view in his mind if you can. A lot of times, stalkers are tough, and shaking a stalker can be a very difficult thing. But the idea here is to look at options of what maybe she could have done. The other thing I would recommend is getting involved with the police early. If you do have this documentation, take them this documentation and say, what can I do here to, I'm afraid for my life. This guy's pursuing me. What can I do? And see what their feedback is as well. So ultimately, very positive is that she, did not have physical harm. But it's a close call, because had the guy looked under the bed, she'd have been toast. And that brings me to this as well. When he broke into her house, what could she have done differently? Well, a couple of things. One, be armed. So if you want to stay silent and go under the bed, be armed while you're under there, and preferably with a firearm if you are trained and feel comfortable with them. Another thing would have been lock the door, put a barrier up against her bedroom door, be armed, and then you're going to have a guy who you're going to have to confront. And you can do a couple of things. You can either stay silent, or you can talk to them through the door and say, look, I'm armed, the police are on their way, and if you come through this door, I'm going to protect myself. That would be another option. And law enforcement, in a particular case different from this one, I've seen officers recommend that scenario. So these are some things that Jill could have done differently for herself, or excuse me, Susan, to avoid having this problem with Mark. So, but ultimately, she, did not have physical harm, but she got lucky because had he looked under the bed, it could have been a very, very bad outcome, especially since she was not armed. So, I hope that this gives you some tips and ideas on what you can do, learning from somebody else's horrific experience, Susan, on how to help yourself. And of course, if you have a story you want to share for me to potentially make a video of, and so that others can learn from those experiences, I welcome that. And you can send me an email with the details of that to info4sheprotects@gmail.com. And I'll have that email in the description for this video as well. And of course, again, I'll attach the stalking video so that you can view it if you would like to. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.